Please remember, today's pitches are not solicitations for investment. Now, introducing FundSeeder, please welcome James Bibbings, founder and CEO of Turnkey Trading Partners.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming today. Really appreciate it. I know a lot of really incredible ideas will come across this stage over the course of the day, but not all of these ideas are going to be as revolutionary as the one that FundSeeder is about to present for the brokerage and trading industry. We're the only cohort team here who is in that space. So I hope that you'll appreciate what Emmanuel Boulari, who's going to come up in a minute, has to say. So as far as my background is concerned, in 2008, I started a regulatory consulting firm to help traders to deal with the ever-changing compliance requirements of the industry. And at that point, I realized that there was just no chance that an average person was going to have the ability to deal with all the compliance headaches that would be before them to be able to become a professional money manager. And that company's been wildly successful. We've been named best in North America at what we do for the last 3 years. We service several hundred clients on 6 continents. And we also have increased our revenue 40% year over year for the last 5 years. So why does that matter? Well, it matters because I've been blessed to have worked with more traders than I can possibly remember. And probably more than anyone in the room, I understand the difficulties in what it takes to become a professional asset manager. So from that perspective, please don't take my word for how revolutionary this idea is to the brokerage and trading industry. Listen to Emmanuel Boulari for yourselves and make your own decision. But without further ado, please give a warm welcome and a round of applause for the CEO and FundSeeder co-founder, Emmanuel Boulari.
Hi, like James said, my name is Emmanuel Boulari, and I am the co-founder and CEO of FundSeeder. FundSeeder is a marketplace for new money managers with a focused purpose of disrupting the hedge fund industry and creating better product for investors. Now let's face it, no one loves a rich hedge fund manager. And especially when he's not making any money for his investors. And while you might think that's an exception to the rule, the opposite is the case. This year alone, greater than half of the hedge fund managers have actually lost money for their investors. And when we look back, and we track this over the last 15 years, we've noticed a couple interesting trends. The first is that the amount of money in the hedge fund industry has grown year over year. And what that means for the hedge fund manager, who often makes money regardless if their clients are making money, is that they've been getting richer. But what about investors? On an inflation-adjusted basis, investors have actually been losing money. And I don't have to state the obvious, but that's a problem. It might not be for that rich hedge fund manager, but it is for you and me. So the obvious question is, why do investors keep on sending their money to the same old established hedge fund managers when their returns do not justify their fees? So I'm going to ask you to think about your own investment portfolio, or to think about your retirement account. Maybe even think back to 2008. The money managers that were managing your money, were they really the best? Or were they simply the status quo? No, the Wall Street names, perhaps the recognized brands. Or just possibly, you didn't even have an option, and that's what your financial advisor put before you. Well, the truth is, you don't have an option. Of the 40 million active trading accounts in the US alone, 668 traders control over 88% of the assets. Now let me say that again. Of the 40 million active trading accounts in the US alone, 668 firms control over $3.1 trillion of assets. Now you could call that a monopoly, an oligopoly, a cartel, but it all means the same thing. Poor product, underperformance, and high fees. And it really shouldn't be that way, right? You have 40 million talented, maybe even just 1% of that traders on this side that have access to the same information that the big hedge fund managers have. With the advent of technology and free flow of information, these talented traders should have an opportunity to compete. But it doesn't matter if you're outperforming, if you don't have the Rolodex, if you don't have the institutional infrastructure, there's absolutely no shot, like James mentioned early, for you to be able to raise money and manage money for clients. So FundSeeder bridges that gap. And how do we do it? Simply let everybody compete. Competition. So to this point, our solution is a performance and data analytics platform that tracks traders from all over the globe. So if you're a trader and you're at a brokerage firm, you sign up to FundSeeder and we pull in your daily data. We provide you with analytics and metrics, and you're actually able to see how you compare and stack up against the competition. And for us, this allows us to source the top traders, right? And we don't think that every single trader that signs up to FundSeeder is going to be good enough. But we think it's a numbers game. It's a statistical numbers game of sourcing the best. And then once that happens, we are there to also help develop these traders and provide the necessary infrastructure and regulatory surrounding that is necessary for these traders to be able to manage money. And lastly, we distribute them to investors, providing investors with better product at a lower price point. So you can think of this as a baseball farm system for new hedge fund managers. So who are our competitors? Well, it's the established hedge funds, the big banks, Wall Street. Now, of course, at this time you might be thinking, who are we to actually disrupt Wall Street? Well, our co-founder, Jack Schwager, and our chief research officer was a director of research for several Wall Street firms in the 80s. He was also a partner at a multi-billion-dollar hedge fund advisory firm, and he's made a career interviewing some of the world's greatest traders. His Market Wizard series of books have sold over 2 million copies globally and have been reprinted in 15 languages. To the trading community, he's a literal rock star, and he brings tremendous brand recognition and credibility to FundSeeder and what we are doing. James Bibbings, that you heard earlier, is from the regulatory space, and we're not naive to think that just by putting together technology can disrupt this industry. You need to have somebody with a regulatory focus, and James provided that for us. And lastly, myself, well, I was the guy who several years ago started a hedge fund, and I quickly looked around and realized I don't really know anybody who could give me money. So I thought there had to be a better way. And over the last several years, Jack and I, we actually launched and were co-portfolio managers for the ADM Investor Services Diversified Strategies Fund. And we literally traveled the globe allocating money to traders that we believed were better than status quo. And one day while we were on a train, I told Jack, hey, I had this idea, and he said, Emmanuel, it's brilliant, let's do it. And so together, the three founders collectively came together on one core belief, that the world's best traders are out there and they're undiscovered. Now, we talked about investors and the need for product, but the reality is it really starts with the traders, right? Similar to just opening up a store or a marketplace, you don't want to open the doors and you don't have any products on the shelves. And so our trader community and validation from the trader community was extremely important. And just this past Sunday, we received this email that I wanted to read from one of our traders. I wanted to reiterate my excitement about this opportunity. You are giving people like me who have worked hard to gain the necessary skills and mindset to be successful traders an incredible opportunity. I look forward to working together. These are dozens of emails that we have received from traders who have said, Emmanuel, you and FundSeeder are giving us away. Now, what about everybody else? When we got together, James, Jack, and I, we thought it would be a success if we got maybe 1,000 traders to sign up, and that would prove our point. Well, with a zero marketing spend, we've received over 6,000 trader signups. And we're signing up 150 to 200 traders per week organically with no money spent. And true to our belief, we knew that some of the world's greatest traders were not from New York City, not from Wall Street. And we've had over 120 countries represented. And lastly, we've approached regulated traders and have asked them to sign fee share agreements with us so that we can get a piece of their fees simply for the opportunity to introduce them to investors. And almost every single trader we've approached has said yes. And you know why? Well, because they don't have any other options. So we have a finished platform. So the analytics that we've put together are better than 90% of the brokerage firms out there. So when a trader signs up, the trades they see, the analytics we're providing are superior. But more importantly, in October, to further prove our case, we established a FundSeeder index. And based on our proprietary ranking score, we put together an index tracking the top 10% of our traders. So from October to July 2016, the index is up over 10.79%. Now, past returns are not indicative of future results, and this is a non-investable index, but we wanted to at least see how this compares to the comparable hedge fund index. Since that time, the hedge fund index was only up 0.01%. I'm telling you, we didn't make up that number. So what we experienced is that at this point, when we talked to several venture firms and angel investors, they said, well, that's great, but what about the investors, the first adopters? Who are these investors that are actually look to deploy capital? And we kept on telling them that we need to have product in the store before we open the doors. But just last week, we went out to some of our investors who registered and signed up, and we had them sign FundSeeder investment mandates, and we received several. The New York-based family office has $600 million allocated to emerging managers. And he told me that he just came back from Europe, where he spent 2 to 3 months traveling the globe looking for traders. And he said, Emmanuel, I actually met a guy who I'm quite positive was the next Bernie Madoff. Your solution not only saves me time and money, but it provides me with data that I know is real and accurate. And in fact, this family office that allocates $600 million to traders actually said, we prefer non-institutional traders. And you know why? Well, because they need to make money, and the bigger guys aren't making money. And the same thing happened with the New York-based fund of funds, $100 million mandate. And their mandate is to their investors. So they allocate to other managers, and the ones that are established and the ones that are managing a lot of money are just not performing. And they said, if you figure out and you actually pull off this baseball farm system, you have a home run. Singapore Asset Management Company, $30 million. $25 million from an Australian asset management company. The principal of that firm is also an investor in FundSeeder. So what about relationships and media support? Well, how is everybody going to receive a disruptive company like FundSeeder? And we were blown away, specifically by the broker community, that were biggest fans and advocates of what we're doing. Because for them, we're providing their clients, which are their traders, with an opportunity for growth and advancement. So what is our pathway to monetization? Well, we're revenue ready, right? We have on one side traders, and on another side investors that are giving us mandates. So simply put, our current focus is just matching the two. Find the best traders, get the mandate from investors, connect them, and we share in 20 to 30% of the fees by just being market makers. Once we do that, we have future opportunities, whether it's the big data, the analytics, or creating our own fund product. But that all happens once we drive success. So what are our projections and our numbers? Well, if we raise just $10 million before the end of the year, our revenue is going to be $135,000. At year 5, which I think this is conservative, with $1.25 billion raised, our top line revenue is over $40 million. And 2 interesting points here is you'll notice that the fees, the costs and expenses flatline because this is a tremendously scalable business. I'm going to leave you with one statistic in terms of the market size and the opportunity. $5 billion, which is 1/13 of 1% of the industry assets under management. Top line revenue is $140 million, a fraction of what's already out there. We've done the heavy lifting. We've built together a product that has surpassed our wildest expectation. Join us if you're looking to disrupt Wall Street.